into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Well, Dominion fans, welcome back for the season finale of Dominion.
Good.
We're here at AfterBuzz TV talking about the finale. So good. We can.
This, there has to be a season 3. I will be so upset if there's not a season 3. I will feel the way. You know what's funny is before we did the show, I was talking to DJ Jesse Janity about the show Flash Forward, which did not get a season 2. And I felt the same way that I would feel if this did not get a season 3.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about that. Before we do, let's introduce ourselves. Guys, sorry. As always, I'm your host, Zach Wilson. Thank you for tuning in. You can tweet at me throughout the week, throughout the show, at that Zach Wilson, ThatZachWilson. And my fantastic co-host is here.
1, 2, 3, Jackie B.
Miss Jackie Borowski.
Hey.
Because we are not defined by our Twitter handles.
Oh, I'm defined by mine. It makes it easier for people to find me, I guess.
Fair enough, I suppose.
Well, if they can spell my name, which
they
a lot of
often
people can't.
Not. But let's just jump in. I mean, we already started talking about reactions. This was
so good, and now it's we knew from talking to Vaughn and the other writers, Sean and Alyssa, that this was going to go to a place where we were going to be begging for more, and we are. I mean,
yeah.
That's pretty much how it is. It's I need to know what happens to all of these characters. I'm invested in all of the characters. We had some shocking exits this season.
Yeah, this episode was just a roller coaster. It was a constant, just moving forward, driving forward. Things are happening at every moment. People are being, some characters that we don't expect to be being nice to each other are
I like the shakeups and the new alliances that we're having.
Stuff is changing but almost none of it felt like it was out of left field or out of nowhere. It all made sense. I have a couple questions that I think need to be answered, but overall it all made sense.
That's how you know you have a good show, when you can make the plot move forward in a certain way that things are really changing. The world at the end of season 2 should never be the same world as you have in season 1, but it should feel like it organically went there instead of it being forced upon the characters or upon the show.
Yeah.
It organically made its way here, which was perfect.
It did. I mean, if I have any complaints about this finale, it's that it left me hanging so bad at the end.
Yeah.
There's two ways that shows handle season finales when they don't know about the next season. And we still don't know. Mm-hmm. I messaged with Vaughn earlier today to see if he'd heard anything. He has not. Still no news, so keep those hashtag renewed dominions, and those will be some other things I'll talk about a little later in the show that we might be able to do to help promote the idea to SyFy. The ratings were in, while we're just on that topic, the ratings were in for this finale, and unfortunately the series as a whole dropped about 45-50% from last year's averages. Both in the demo of adults 18-49 and overall, which is unfortunate. But from what I understand, the network is happy creatively. I think we can all say that we're happy creatively.
And I also think the fan base of Dominion is a really strong and passionate fan base, and I feel like that makes a difference. That made a difference in Community, made a difference in the Mindy Project.
Yeah. You fans that are listening to this, we host a lot of shows here at AfterBuzz TV. I host on a ton, and I host on a ton with passionate fan bases, like Doctor Who, Sleepy Hollow. These shows have big audiences that care. I've never seen a fan base so active as the Dominion fan base. For such a small show.
I've seen very passionate fan bases. Like the Sleepy Hollow fan base is very passionate, but this fan base is not only passionate, but it's insanely active. Like, you guys that watch this show, you're like us, where you want to see this show come back. You want to see it badly enough that you're willing to tweet the campaign, and I think that's excellent.
Yeah. But what I was saying, this episode sort of ends on
8 million cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A whole bunch of cliffhangers, whereas some shows that don't know try to make things like sort of wrap where it could be the end.
Yeah.
But with like open lines. This is very much like, we need another season, or this ain't gonna work. Like, we're gonna just be like sitting there like, what happened? Give us answers. But hopefully that is enough that like the SyFy executives are like, we want answers. We want to know what happens next. Show renewed. They just, I imagine SyFy has like a button, like
a show renewed button.
Yeah, there's like a green button and a red button, and they're just like green renewed, and it just like automatically sets a bunch of stuff up. Anyway, let's get into this episode because so much going on. Let's start with Alex and Claire and Noma on the because we start out with them like underground, and I just remember shouting like, use your magic powers, Alex.
And he did. he did.
Like that's what we've been waiting for. Like ever since we knew that he could evict them, is like just use it on 8 balls. Right. And he does it in. I thought his face was really funny when he did it. It was sort of like an O face. I mean,
maybe he did feel that release. Maybe he did.
It's a pure heart.
It's a pure heart.
Pure heart.
He frees them, but the gates have all been opened because Baby Wheel opened them all before he like mashed up the board and then was slaughtered.
Little Wheel, what are you doing?
Baby Wheel leaving a mess.
Yeah. Leaving your mess out, breaking things, having tantrums because you're not the chosen one.
I liked that battle scene too. It was very I like seeing like post-apocalyptic Vegas like that. I mean, it was just cool shots all around.
It felt to me like this. It felt like I mean, maybe just because of the architecture that was around, because it's Vegas. It felt like, it reminded me of like the Trojan War, how that must have felt. Like, just like the city has fallen.
Yes.
Like, we are invaded, the walls are down, this is the end.
Yes.
We can make a last stand, or we can run, but it's done. Like, it's pretty much done.
And then we have Claire make the decision to go and talk to her dad, which basically Alex has to explain to her that he's a dyad and that the bad half of him is in charge, the angel half is in charge. I forget the angel's name. What was the angel's name again? Duma. He's apparently a very old angel, and thus very powerful. And this was another scene that just blew my mind because I didn't see that. I could not have foretold them killing Claire. But it makes sense story-wise because I do feel like her story had come to an end because the city has fallen apart, and her city was who she was. And so at this stage in time, also because I'm a huge Claire and Gates shipper, I was like, oh, now they can be together in death. Which was interesting because when you have this is another thing I love when shows do. This show does not, even though it had a love rhombus, it did not make the love rhombus the point of its show or the central feature of its show. Yeah. It knew that the central feature is this war is going on. It knew that the central feature is the relationships between the angels and the people, and it knew that it wasn't going to make a show. This is not Beverly Hills 90210. It's Dominion. So it's not making a show based on love rhombuses, but it's just a happy side effect of the show. Yeah. A happy side plot. So I do like that. I do like that our hero ends up alone because I think that gives him any myriad of possibilities to go out into the future. It's
Yeah.
like he ends up with nobody. And I actually love it when shows do that. I loved it when Buffy ended up with nobody.
Because they don't need, like...
They don't need
He's
anybody.
not defined by
Yeah.
the person that he's with. None of these characters are defined that way. Although, while we're on the subject, the listener poll, Nalix totally won by a 4-1.
Yes.
Like, a 4-1 vote was
Yes.
just like, no one's on my side. Although, like, you gotta give it to, like, the two of them, like, the feels between, like, Alex and Claire as she's dying.
I'm not going to deny that there is chemistry all around. That's what made it such a compelling love rhombus, is that it's not like there are plenty of other shows I watch where you see them trying to put characters together and you're like, those actors just have no chemistry, or it's just not compelling. But the different combinations were compelling and the actors did work well together.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made this love rhombus so magical.
Well, what was so great about it was that they very much these were two sides of Alex.
Yes.
This was like the buddy that like understands his military side,
Right.
and like will tell him like up soldier,
Yes.
like that will push him in that way. And the one who, and the girl who represents the life he sort of unrealistically wishes he could have.
Right, like a Prince Charming kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, where they could run away and just live in the flowers forever.
Right.
And it's just this is the world that they're in, and he can't. That life doesn't exist in any reality for them. That life doesn't exist, and in the world he is in, he and Noma, in theory,
Right.
would have been together. But so like. I think we'll save the ending bit when we get through like all of the flashback and talk more about Lucifer and everything, because there's so much to cover there. But just getting to the tower, because they see Duma come in as General Ryson, and I can only imagine like Claire's what's going through her head as the trucks go by. Like, those aren't our trucks, Dad. What?
It's she had it was a very rough ending for her, because she had to be told basically moments before, like just seconds, like, oh yeah, okay, so now your dad is an evil angel and you have to go and try and talk to him, like, and the city's falling apart. Good luck. It's a lot of pressure. And I liked that scene where she wants to talk to her dad, and her dad is really trying to do the fight, and her dad asks her to shoot him, and she hesitates, or she shoots him and then she hesitates. There's some hesitation there to where then Duma shoots back, and then Alex comes in and kills him.
Well, because I think there was a. Basically, Doom is trying to raise his gun, but Ryson is fighting him. And this is sort of where the dyad mythology gets a little muddy for me. I guess that it's not so much like, because when they set it up, it was that they combine and create like a new person that is both. But it's really just that in a dyad, it feels more like the 8-ball, or like the angel, like the person isn't buried as much. So maybe it makes them more powerful, because otherwise why let them be a dyad at all?
Right.
So it must make them stronger,
Right.
or better healing or things, because that's why the only reason I could think that Duma Ryson survives being shot with a very large gun.
Yeah.
But like, so Ryson was fighting her, and it's in that moment that Claire hesitates, and gets shot.
Yes.
So
because she doesn't want to actually shoot her dad, but she realizes it's like that split-second hard decision where it's she wants to kill this Duma, but she doesn't want to shoot her dad. But her dad's like, you got to kill me because you got to kill the evil angel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very. I mean, that's what a terrible way to go out, though. Especially died thinking that she had shot her dad.
Yeah. I mean, and we have this, we have the comparison of the parallel deaths where we have Claire dying, I think Vaughn said as a hero's death, where she's struggling with this, okay, I have to kill this evil angel. And then we have Baby Wheel dying, William Wheel dying at his dad's hands, but he's dying as like somebody who destroyed the city versus someone who was trying to save it.
Yeah. I mean, and he very much had like his arc sort of like went up and up, and then he's sort of like had just a crazy twist where it's like, I'm not who I thought I was.
Right.
I'm nothing. It'd be interesting to see what else he might have done if not for the darkness. Mm-hmm. Like if he had had time to build up an army.
Yes.
He might have taken over the city. Who knows?
Or it would have been interesting to me to see him as part of Lucifer's army now that we know that Lucifer's building up some sort of following.
Yeah. I'm so tempted to just jump into Lucifer, but we're still talking about Claire and all that. I guess there's not a whole lot more there. There's a nice scene with the humans coming in and saving Alex and Noma right before the end, where they all bow down to Alex.
Yes.
Really just raise him up.
What's interesting to me is Noma really started that.
Yeah. Noma
was the first person to bow down, or first angel person, to bow down, and then the rest of them did too. So it's what makes this ending so bittersweet, because you do know that you have Alex earlier in the episode saying, I loved Clara, but I had loved you long before that. So he admits this long-term love for Noma, which is what we as fans, I think for the most part, most fans had been waiting for that moment. Mm-hmm. And just the moment when you think, okay, they're out of the woods, they're finally getting together, we have this plot twist where we know that she's like a triple betrayer, and she betrays him for a pair of wings.
Yeah.
Even though she loves him, and even though she recognizes he's the savior, and even though she's saying, here, this army is yours, she's still, because she struggled with her own identity and she didn't want to feel lost without her wings.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's more to it. I do feel the need to point out that, because Noma had gray wings to start, that Noma was Noma the Gray with her wings, fell, and then was reborn as Noma the White. Yep. Lord of the Rings reference. Thank you. It made me laugh. But it was, I wonder if there's something significant in the wing color. Because none of the angels that we've seen so far have had white wings. Those were very classic angelic wings.
I think I read this interview with Vaughn where he did confirm that Noma had felt a loss of self, a loss of identity with the loss of her wings, and since those wings were given by Lucifer, they had to look different. I mean, so I don't know if it goes farther beyond that, what's the symbolism, or why white, or why do they look like this, or whatever. But it's we know that those are not the wings that God gives to all of his angels.
Yeah.
So she has something different.
Yeah. What I like about that choice is they weren't red, they weren't jet black. They were white.
They were very angelic
very
looking.
Clean, as if it was a fresh slate. And I think that's going to play into what we are going to find out about whatever it is, whatever Lucifer's whole game plan is. So let's go back. Let's go through that whole arc of because we get some flashbacks and stuff. Because right at the top, like Gabriel and Michael are in Mallory. No one else is there, so Michael doesn't get to have his reunion with Laurel. It's like another human that he fell in love with.
I love that about Michael, though.
He loves so
humans.
He loves so strongly, so strongly. And Gabriel's like just ready to kill Michael at this point. Like he's like, for you, we'll go see if our dead brother is actually alive. But it's time for you to die now. And like he's not convinced. But then the prophet just like saddles
the
up.
man in the yellow hat.
Yeah, he just like pushes. He's like down, down. Like in the door, like. You might not want to do that just yet. So I imagine.
I think there are things we learn in this scene, though. We learn that there are more prophets out there, or more people that even if you kill the man in the yellow hat, there are tons of other people who are willing to step up for Lucifer.
Yeah, well, they establish what's the quote is. There are dozens of us out there ready to obey his voice. So Noma is apparently one of them. Somebody in the chat, who was Linda Milks, asks, when did Lucifer get a chance to heal Noma and give her wings?
That is the one question I had about this whole scene, because you're wondering, she had that scene on the rooftop where she still didn't have her wings and she was mourning it. And that was like 3 episodes ago, I think.
It was very recently.
It was very recently. So I was having that same question. Like from that moment where we know she doesn't have her wings and it's really playing with her mind, where does she get the opportunity then?
But see, I think it can all be sort of brought to the question, to the point where he says, there are dozens of us out there ready to obey his voice. Not him, because Lucifer does not have a body. So if he's communicating with anyone, it is not through normal physical realm means. I think he literally was probably spoke to her within her head and was able to promise her and have that whole conversation just in her head. Remember that angels can communicate with their wings, and I know that she had lost her wings, but with Lucifer, either in the outer sphere or in this like weird middle zone where he's in both. I think it's reasonable to assume that he could communicate with Noma through whatever means he needed to.
I think that makes sense.
We hear his voice. He communicates with her in that last moment. He may have given her wings right in that moment.
Because that would actually make sense, because he might have said, okay, you don't get your wings until you actually give over Alex. So in that moment that she gave up Alex's location or gave over wherever Alex was, that was when she spread her wings. That moment, that's the moment she got them.
Yeah. Aren't they beautiful? But so more in this flashback. Because this sort of like lays the ground for like what Noma's doing.
Yes.
Noma's got this. I like her like the flashback outfit with like the cross strap.
I like the Xena Warrior Princess flashback outfit. It's great.
But we go back.
It's a lot like Uriel's outfit.
Yeah. We go back to like this is sort of like just after Legion, because Jeep and Charlie are together. Which, if you don't remember, Charlie is the character from Legion that gives birth to Alex. And then the creepy grandma lady tries to kill little baby Alex. But we go back, and so Noma is teamed up with Gabriel still at this point. And they're going to try to murder this baby. They end up killing Charlie instead, and Noma just like can't bring herself to kill Alex because she senses the presence of God around him.
It's interesting though that she says that, because you're wondering like, is this the earliest moment that Lucifer reached out to her? Because maybe she thought it was just like the people in Laurel. Maybe she thought it was the presence of God, but it was actually Lucifer.
I suppose it's possible, but she's mentioning the present, like Father's presence around him, and Alex is very much supposedly if he's the chosen one, he would have that presence in theory.
Yes.
I think he would have to. It does play into my old theory that I haven't mentioned in a few episodes because it hasn't been relevant, but my old theory that Alex is actually God. Think about it now, where she felt his presence.
Maybe he's the son of God.
I mean, aren't we all? No, but but you're right. It could be something like that. I still think that the idea that God is gone is such a bizarre. Because I guess for me, like, I don't think of the character of God as like a being that could go away.
Yes.
And maybe that's why it's so devastating for the characters here. That, like, in my mind, God is so intricately intertwined with just the universe. Like, how could that leave? But I guess that's the devastation that Michael and Gabriel and everyone feels.
Right.
The question is, I guess, if he left any part of himself behind, it would be in Alex, is the theory. Is my theory, at least.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, or Alex is like his portal back. So, like, in the last episode of the show, he'll just, like, burst open, and then God walks out, like, hey, guys, what did you do to Las Vegas?
Why did you do that?
Are you kidding? I was planning on going to Caesar's Palace this weekend to blow off some steam. Oh, my God.
I like how in the flashbacks too we see how Noma is the reason why, what's her face, the mom, Claire? No, the mom, Charlie. Why Charlie died, and then Michael has that conversation with her, basically saying, now you owe a debt. Like, you have to protect Alex.
Yeah. Father revealed himself to you for a reason. You killed Alex's mother, and when the time comes, I expect you to pay that debt and give your life for his. Part of me thinks that Noma getting the wings and all that somehow is going to actually be paying her debt. First of all, I find it creepy that, like, she, like, found this baby and, like, owed this baby a debt and then, like, fell in love with him.
I told you, it's like Twilight. She was imprinting on him.
It's so weird. So weird. No. No. No shipping them anymore. Now it's just really creepy.
But she hadn't seen him for years, so when she came back and he was an adult...
It's creepy.
He was with Michael for years. It's all tucked away.
It's like if you started dating your old babysitter.
Don't say that. Don't make Dominion creepy.
But it is. Like, Noma's being weird. She's like millennia old. Alex is still to her a baby.
That is true. That is true.
It's the thing that everyone ignores about all the vampire movies and all that, like Twilight. It's like, this is, like, real. The age difference is just extremely weird. Extreme.
I'm still shipping them. Still doing it.
I'm shipping no one anymore in this show.
Well, I say that I'm shipping them because I like the two characters together or whatever, but the show is not about that.
Yes.
Like, it wouldn't matter to me whatever happens.
I say the shipping because it's just a fun game to play while we watch the show.
And it's fun when you see that you like two characters together, like, you see two actors work well together, you like two characters together, you want to see more of them together because of the chemistry. But, the show's not about that. It's like I could see all of the characters by themselves doing whatever, and it wouldn't matter to me that they're not focusing on that, because that's not what the show is about.
Yes. No, totally. So the question, I guess, is, Noma at this point is... Do you think that she is somehow helping Alex? Did she sacrifice himself instead of Alex for Lucifer to take, or was it really just like I want my wings back, and it's what we see on the surface?
See, I don't want to believe. I mean, it's so hard because you've seen her. I mean, you've seen how real their relationship is, and how much she really has like followed him and sacrificed for him and protected him. And you still had that moment a couple episodes earlier where both Noma and Claire basically admit that either one would die for Alex. So it's hard for me to believe that this moment, I think you can read it two ways. You can read it that Noma gave up Alex's location to Lucifer and therefore gets wings from Lucifer as a like thank you present. Or you can read it as Noma turned Lucifer down, still protects Alex, and then was given wings by missing God or whatever, or given the wings by God as a thank you for protecting him.
Yeah.
For protecting Alex.
We can only wait to see how it unfolds.
I read it as Lucifer just because God is missing. So it's like I had no other explanation in my like arsenal.
And you heard the voice telling Noma what did it say? It is time. You heard Lucifer as he rises, telling the prophet and telling her it is time. Right. So like. It was like, it's just activating a sleeper cell, basically.
It's sad to me though because I would like to see, and I know like Noma has switched sides before, but I would like to see, in the third season, I would like to see Noma come back around. I mean, it is interesting to have her defect and start working with Lucifer, but I would love her to like realize that maybe that's not the right thing and come full circle. Just like we actually in this episode we had Gabriel come full circle. He was healed by fire by Lucifer, or by the man in the yellow hat, and I knew when he was being burned that he was actually being helped because Lucifer was using fire to protect the city. So it made sense to me that he was being burned to be helped, like a trial by fire kind of thing. And so we have the like whatever wrath demon that was in Gabriel is like out.
The darkness from the amphora was like an infection, I guess. Yes. I think the easiest way to classify it. And it's gone, and then I love seeing Michael and Gabriel team up against Lucifer. I love the idea that these two brothers who we know from flashbacks had been so close for many, many centuries, and it was just at the point of this war that they split apart. I love the idea of them coming back together and fighting against Lucifer. I love the idea of them teaming up, and how and how they both basically were like, Lucifer, you can't get at Alex. Yeah. I mean, I guess an interesting thing is like, was Lucifer was that him coming like to power? Because he was still boned. Yeah. In that last scene. I'm so upset. Mm-hmm. No, but he was still like, he didn't have a body yet. Right. He just existed as a skeleton. It was creepy. Well, let's talk about that chamber. When the prophet goes down. The prophet walks in and you can see the morning star constellation, just like the one Alex had. Also, the walls were just covered in different markings that were very similar to Alex's. Mm-hmm. Do you think that those were copies of the markings, or is that just angelic writing?
I feel like it's just angelic writing, because how would Lucifer know what the markings were?
That's true. He definitely wants the markings,
right? And I mean, we know he can't fully become alive until Alex is sacrificed. Yeah. So.
Well, I guess that's or at least that's the theory. That's what they all think. Mm-hmm. We have to remember that Michael and Gabriel and Lucifer, they may not have all of the answers to this themselves. They just have what they think. So they think that by sacrificing Alex, Lucifer thinks that by sacrificing Alex in his name, he'll be able to regain his body. Or maybe it's a thing where he has to possess Alex, where like basically we get Christopher Egan playing Lucifer. That could be interesting too.
I do think that could be interesting. I mean, like I said before, with the actor who plays General Ricin, I actually did want to see the dyad possession because it's so fascinating for an actor to play that, and I think he did a great job in this episode with the struggle between the two different entities, and I think that would be an interesting struggle to play. Oh my gosh, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, it's something with Lucifer. Just the rise. Well, because the other big the other plot lines that we got in this episode, that'll sort of bring us slowly back through, is we got Wheel and Eureka.
Yes, I love that moment. I love that they kind of acknowledge that there's like an underlying sexual tension between them, which I find fascinating because it's like, who knows if that'll play out in the future.
Oh, that's going to be the most destructive relationship ever.
Yes. And I like that he escapes death for the 100,000th time, and in a way that he is sacrificing himself for the city, because David really, even though his character has done bad things and is sort of twisted, he does love the city. It's his city. He wants to protect it. And I liked that. I like that point that they made. Yeah. And so he ends up in front of Duma and
yeah, I mean, that's we got, like,
who didn't die.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what the sacrifice for being a dyad has to be, because like most 8-balls, like that's the thing, is like an 8-ball doesn't have to fight against their host.
Yeah.
They just win when but a dyad, it's not what I originally understood it to be, which was a new third personality created out of the two,
right?
With the wants of both and the desires of both combined. It's one fighting for the other. So I think that it's strength and healing, basically, just a generally more powerful being that's created. So Duma did survive. And now with Claire dead, Ricin really doesn't have anything to fight for. So he's probably truly buried for good.
Right.
It's unfortunate. I mean, it's a little unfortunate. We want to see... I want to see Ricin. I like Ricin, but we still get to keep the actor.
That's
which
true.
Is cool.
That is true. And he can always play the voice of his own younger versions of himself.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my god, that was so funny. But so Eureka escapes.
Yeah,
I don't know why David. I don't know why
girl.
David thought he had to stay behind, like to kill a few more 8-balls, like.
I mean, he doesn't really have anything to live for either, other than he doesn't know anything for the past, like, 25 years or whatever. He doesn't know anything past that city. So that, I mean, I don't even think that even if in his brain he had, like, literally no fighting chance, no gun, no whatever, he probably would have just said, I'm going to go down with the city.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he'd do well in a
matriarchal society. Which we won't get into it too much here. But if you want to read some more about Helena, go to Dominion Revelations on the SyFy site, and they have a cool little write up.
And we need season 3 because I want to see Helena.
Yeah, because I want to see it. Like we saw we saw the signpost,
and we know Julian's still alive.
Yes,
because we had Julian giving his crazy speaches.
He's just like talking to no one now.
Yeah.
He's just lost it.
Yes.
Because he's the only one left there. Like, Gabriel sort of took his army, which, actually, this is a point I wanted to ask, because I'm not 100% sure about. Does Duma just think he's working for Gabriel at this point, that he's doing Gabriel's bidding?
I think Duma's doing his own, I think Duma's an opportunist. So when he saw that Gabriel and Julian gave him an opportunity, he probably said, oh yes, I'll work for you or whatever. I don't think being that Duma made a point about how old of an angel he was and how ancient, I think that Duma is going to try and set up his own thing that has nothing to do with either of them.
I could see that like Duma becomes sort of one of our antagonists in season 3. I see that. I see that unfolding. But so Julian gives this like crazy little speech. I've been this close to oblivion before. This time, like all the other times, I remember the whispers I heard in that dark place. Like he's just like he's just like raving about in nothingness. Like he's giving a speech like to no one.
And then I wonder, it's like you wonder what part in all of this Julian's going to play, because right now he's kind of like the kooky leftover. So you're like, why is he still alive and where does he fit in? And that in itself is another mystery. Yeah,
but I mean, he's making a very strong point as well that this is a world without God. This is a world where the tyranny of rank means nothing, because we sort of just like accept it because that's just like the angels and like we're fighting them. So like, we just have to deal with like this. These ones can do this and these ones can do this and this one's powerful. But he makes a good point. Like humans are all created with the like in the Bible and mythology, in this mythology and all that. We're all created equal. That's the big thing, is that every human is supposed to be on equal footing. But the angels were created, some were more powerful than others, some were more important than others. The lower angels were created being called lower angels. Like, you want to talk about having some like emotional issues with your dad? Like, I have brought you into existence. You will be my favorite archangels. You will be the higher angels. And you guys, you're the lower angels. Like, just go hang out in the outer sphere. I don't need you right now.
Which is interesting because I remember the other point I was going to make, because in this interview with Vaughn, he explains that Lucifer is after a world without God. So, whereas you have all the other angels looking for God, you have Lucifer saying, no thanks, let's just create our own thing that doesn't have anything to do with him. Yeah. So it's funny because we thought that it was just how to bring God back. Now it's like, well, now you have the fight about whether or not you should.
Yeah, which is I think a fair question to ask in this whole thing. It's like, this seems like it's all been orchestrated by God. Like he gave Gabriel the vial that would unleash the apocalypse, probably knowing that he would do it.
Right.
Because he gave then Michael the tools to defend it with the markings, and Uriel the book. I always forget the name of the book. I should really have written it down. And Raphael the prophecy. All these things to piece together what would happen to fight the apocalypse. So he knew it was going to happen. The question is, why should we be following that path? And I think that's the question that Julian. I wonder if Julian is a prophet of Lucifer at this point, or would be like amenable to teaming up with him.
See, I felt that way too. And it's interesting because Lucifer is, in this sense, the real prodigal son, whereas we had this fight between Michael and Gabriel where you thought, okay, like, which one of us is more loyal to dad and his plan, father and his plan. And then you have this other angel come in and you're like, oh no, that person's the real prodigal son because he just doesn't want anything to do with dad anymore at all.
Yeah. It could be interesting to see. I really want to see.
Yes, I do too. And I do feel like Julian could be part of Team Lucifer. And I'm interested to see, like, what happens if the town of Mallory learns that they've been worshiping Lucifer.
Yeah, imagine, like, you think you're making all these sacrifices for God, and you've been just, like, helping Lucifer rebuild his body. Which, by the way...
Sucks! That sucks so bad for the people who are in the town, because you have... who is it that pointed it out? Was Michael? Was it Michael or Gabriel that pointed it out that was like, oh... You basically have just been having people sacrifice themselves to you so you could get better.
Yeah.
which is terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But
I don't think these
we
people
called
will be
it.
thrilled. Yeah.
Called it on this program. Check the tape. I was real proud of myself. I was like, yeah. I was live tweeting it, and I was just like, called it. Yes.
We know our Dominion.
Yes, we do.
Even though it was Zach that called it, but that's cool.
It's fine. No, we did it as a team.
Okay.
As a team.
Okay,
Jackie.
good.
But I think it's fair to say, why don't we go into some predictions?
Okay.
Predictions. So yeah, prediction time. We've basically just been doing it the whole show anyway.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV.
Yes, those are the lights I wanted. The lights haunting us from up high. Okay. So, as we leave season 2, Julian is like holed up in a wall, but he's there. He's available to potentially team up with Lucifer. Duma's alive. He has Wheel. Between Ryson's memories and Wheel, the entire inner working of Vega is effectively at his disposal. We are off to Helena with one squadron, and Noma is potentially working for Lucifer, gonna take Alex to Lucifer so that Lucifer can come back to life. So excited about that plot line. I have to think that it's gonna be. I'm just trying to piece my brain together. Well, what are you thinking, Jackie? While I get my thoughts in a row.
I'm thinking Duma is going to use David as his number one foot soldier now, because he'll see the power in David, and I feel like this time, because David usually when he was with Zoe, he was able to turn that around so it became advantageous for David. I predict that this is not going to happen this time. That David is finally going to find himself in a situation where he can't, like, he's literally just going to be a slave for Duma, and he's not going to be able to find a way to get out of that or make it advantageous for himself.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I sort of see Lucifer sort of going out in, like, to try to turn, like, if he gets his body back from one way or another. I mean, he will, I think, at some point in
yes,
season 3.
I do think
it's
so.
just a question of how.
Right.
Going to Duma to, like, maybe team up, and then, but, like, this becomes a war of belief. It becomes more even than angel versus human, a war of belief. Of, like, do you want, because Gabriel and Michael, I think, are going to have against Lucifer will wind up being on the same side.
Yep.
Michael, I thought it was very interesting, seemed almost reverent of Lucifer. Like, there's the fact alone that he let him live.
Right.
That he had such respect for his brother.
It's his brother. Yeah. So he had, and Michael's that kind of character, though, that he doesn't fight dirty anymore. Not Sodom and Gomorrah Michael, but contemporary Michael doesn't fight dirty. He fights honorably. And so he saw that as dishonorable. So he had to do something when his brother died. He didn't want to dishonor him, even though he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that saved him. Good job, Michael, saving yourself in the future.
Yeah. I think we're going to see Michael and Gabriel teamed up. Which is cool because those two actors, like Tom Wisdom and Carl Bukes,
they're great together.
Yeah, they have such a good back and forth.
Yeah,
and such a good dynamic. I'm excited to see them on the same side. Because now they're both going to be fighting Lucifer. I think Lucifer's ultimate goal will be to kill the two of them. And theoretically, Raphael, if we get her in, and then maybe Uriel, still holding on to that prediction that she's actually alive, that becomes that. Oh, how awesome would it be with the four of them versus Lucifer?
Yes, I would like to see that for sure.
I want to see that next year. I'm talking to not to SyFy, like just imagine SyFy. Listen to me here. Picture this. The fields of California, because we're going to be in Northern California with La Jolla, which is where Helena is.
Oh, no, Helena, if Helena's in La Jolla's in San Diego.
California, yeah.
Yes, but we're not going to be in Northern California.
Did I say Northern?
Yeah.
Oh, California.
Yes.
Or even better, near San Diego, on the beaches, lined up in the sand. On one side, you have 4 archangels with swords drawn, ready. 2 beautiful women and Tom Wisdom and Carl Bukes versus the craziest Lucifer, like, I imagine him being a big person, a big, like, threatening person as the first angel, and they just have to flip out their wings and they fly at each other. You can make that happen, SyFy, or whatever the writers come up with, because I'm sure that they have this all thought out in amazing fashion. You can make that happen, SyFy. So hashtag Renew Dominion. I also want to give a quick moment to shout out at Twister Diva on Twitter, who said that they are putting together a letter writing campaign.
Oh, good.
That you guys can get in on. Which the address is pretty simple. I guess you just send it and then they'll figure out who to forward it to. Address it to SyFy HQ, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York. Zip code 10112. Like, maybe we can get this into a real place where the SyFy is like, man, we got to renew the show. These people are nuts.
Yes.
In the best way, because you guys are nuts. Thank you so much for joining us this season. Jackie, thank you for co-hosting with me this season.
Blast. This is a great show.
This season, like, I wasn't sure going in, like, what are we gonna get? Sophomore seasons are real tricky. We've both seen Jackie just
Sleepy Hollow, The Strain.
But just Jackie and my other shows. We've seen really rough second seasons, but this season blew the first out of the water and just made this my favorite show of the summer. And I can't wait to see next season. I hope we get more. Any last thoughts, Jackie, before we wrap out?
No.
All right. Yeah, we've given you guys a lot of hours of Dominion talk. So until next season, because I'm going to go out positive.
Yes.
Until next season, Jackie, where can the people keep up with you?
You can find me on my website, 123jackieb.com. That's where my Twitter, my Instagram is, and I will be recapping some shows on my blog there. And you can see me on my web series, Words, Wine, and Women.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, all the places at that Zach Wilson, ThatzachWilson, and a whole bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz this fall, including Doctor Who, Sleepy Hollow with Jackie, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is back. Which I just talked about The Leftovers, which is just mind I don't even know what to think anymore. But guys, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone in the chat roll, everyone on Twitter. You guys have been a blast. It's been an honor to host this show. Thank you, Vaughn, Sean, and Alyssa for coming in this season. It has been a blast. Guys, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.